Okay, fifth graders, this is, what are we? I think we're up to 2-4. 2-4, and it's pages, looks like it's 58, 59, and it will be 60. And it's about adding decimals. So let's take a look at this here. Spend just a few minutes on it. Shouldn't be too long of a lesson. It says a swim team participated in a relay race. The swimmers' times for each leg of the race was recorded at the table, and here's the table. And it says, what was the combined time for Caleb and Bradley's legs of the race? The combined time. So here's Caleb, here's Bradley. So it's 21.39, and you're adding 21.59. And it says you can estimate first. 21.39, well, that's closest to 21, and 21.59, that's closest to 22. Then you could just add those, and what are you going to end up with? 43. So 43 is an estimate. And then it says, just like in step one here, it says, just like with whole numbers, you line up the addends. In other words, you line up what you're adding up by place value. So the decimal is always lined up. And let me show you something here. If I wrote 2.369 and 476.1, and how about 0.02, that's a little bit too big here because I'm going to be moving these, 0.021. How would you add those up? Well, let me show you. You need to line up the decimals whenever you add or subtract decimals. So here I am lining them up. I'm lining up the decimals. And do the same thing with the other one here. I'm going to line up the decimals. Okay. Now, when you do something like this, if you want, you could put some place values here. I'm just putting a 0 there to keep things lined up. And I could put a 0 here and a 0 here to kind of help me keep things lined up. But then you just would add them like you normally would. So I'm not going to bother to do that. You guys know how to add numbers up. But just remember, when you add decimals or subtract decimals, you always line up the decimals. Okay? So let's see here. I was kind of curious when they were talking about swimming and relay races. I was wondering what the fastest time was for the 100-yard swim and the fastest time for the 200-yard. And they call it 100 freestyle and 200 freestyle. Boy, look at this. Isn't that a cool picture? I don't know who that is, but that's a pretty cool looking picture. And it looks like Caleb Dressel in 2019 in South Korea, his time for the 100-yard was 46.96 seconds. That's pretty amazing. And for the 200, look how they wrote this here. It's 1 and then colon 42.96. What do you think that 1 represents? Any idea? Actually, that's 1 minute. So if we were just to keep it in seconds, how many seconds are in a minute? 60. So I'm going to add 60 to 42. So that's going to give me 102 seconds, point, also 96. And so if you wanted to know what the total time was for those two, you would just add those up. And notice how I kept the decimals lined up. That's important, okay? All right, let's move down a little bit here. So the convince me, I'm not worried about that, so you don't have to do that. They do give us another example here. It says Carson ran 7.81 miles last week and 14 miles this week. How many miles did he run in the 2 weeks? And they show you doing it using the commutative property and the associative property. And here they just switched 7.81 plus 14, and then 14 plus 7.81. You're going to get the same answer either way. And the associative property, they separated them. They put parentheses around the 14 and the 7, adding those together, and then you'd add the 81 in the end, which I think would be the easiest, and that's kind of how I would have done it in my head. I would have added 14 plus 7 plus, what was it, 0.81. 14 plus 7, that's going to be 21, and then you just add in the 0.81, and there you would have your answer. So, guided practice. Move it down a little bit further. I think most of these you guys can do on your own. Number 1, it says, how is adding 21.39 and 21.59 like adding 2,139, 2,159? It's the same, except you would, what? Line up the decimals. Other than that, you're adding up the exact same numbers. All right. How do you know? 2 through 5. It says use place values and properties to find each sum. You don't have to use properties. I mean, it's up to you if you want to do something like that. So let's look at number 3 here together. All right. So it's 9.1 plus 7.21. Well, this is the way I would do it in my head. What's 9 and 7? Okay, that's 16. Okay. Now, what is? I'm trying to pick a different color here. Not red. I'll do this. I guess I could do. I'll just do white. 0.1 plus 0.21. Well, the 0.1, that's in the tenths place. The 2 is in the tenths place. So that's just going to become 0.31. 0.31. So the answer to this one would be 16.31. And, I could just do that in my head. You guys could too, if you look at these and just think about it for a moment. So the answer to number 3 is 16.31. Let's do another one. How about number 5 here? Let's look at that for a moment. So number 5 is 4.98 plus 3.02. You know what? I'm going to show you guys something here, actually, that might help. In fact, I hope it does help. I'm going to still do that same problem here, but I'm going to do it. Let's see here. It's 4.98, and I'm adding 3.02. Okay. It only takes 2 more 100ths being added to 9/8 to make it a whole 1. Let me show you what I mean. 2 plus 8 is 10, right? Put down the 0, carry the 1. 9 plus 1 is 10, right? Put down the 0, and then always keep the decimal lined up, and then add the 1. 4 plus 1 is 5, plus 3 more is 8. So the answer is 8. Now, that's just doing it probably the way you may have been taught when you're just adding numbers to carry things over like that. But if you were to just look at this, look at 4.98, and we're adding 3.02. The 9/8 is, like I said, just 2/100ths away from making it a whole number. So 3 plus 4 I know is 7, and then 0.98 plus 0.02 is another 1, and that would be 8, which just happens to be the answer we also came up with. Okay, let's see here, 6 through 12. You guys can do those on your own. I don't think you need any help from me. I'm looking at number 13. A farmer sold 53.2 pounds of carrots, 29.4 pounds of asparagus. How many pounds of these two vegetables did the restaurant buy? Well, you're just going to add them up. You guys can do that. 14. Which two cities have the greatest combined rainfall for a typical year? So we're looking for the two cities here that have the most rainfall. So the 45 looks like it's Macon, Georgia. And what's the next highest one? Springfield. So you would add, actually it just, which two cities have the greatest combined rainfall? So they didn't even ask you to add those up. So Macon and Springfield. Number 15, which location had less than 45 inches of rain, but more than 40 inches of rain? Okay, I think you could do that. And down at the bottom here, Tim earned $16 babysitting, $70.50 mowing a lawn, paid $8.50 for a movie, bought a small popcorn for $1.95. Yeah, $1.95 for a small popcorn, more like $8. It makes me think this is pretty old. Write an expression to show how much money he has left. Well, you're going to be adding a couple numbers together, and then you're going to be adding two other numbers together, and then subtracting those two numbers from the first two. You can do that. Juan adds, what's he add here? 3.8 plus 4.6 and gets a sum of 84. Is his answer correct? Well, not even close. How do you know? Well, he probably didn't think about keeping track of the decimals. He probably added 38 and 46. And so I'll let you explain that in your own words. 18 and 19 looks like multiple choice. You guys can do that. That's it. Short video. So I will see you guys tomorrow.